couple requests on how to get calcium when you don't drink milk. And just to be totally transparent with you guys, my family is not 100% dairy free. My daughter is 100% dairy free, but my husband and I do eat a little bit of sheep and goat's milk cheese, and that's mostly because we just love it. We try to get really high quality. There's a lot of politics that can go behind why people don't eat any dairy, and this is not what this video is about, so I don't mean to offend anybody, and if you're easily offended, you can click out now. I'm just talking about how my family gets a little extra calcium without having dairy. So my daughter suffered with a little bit of eczema when I first started introducing solids. Through a process of elimination, we realized that dairy just was not working for her. So since I've cut it out, her skin is perfectly clear. And when I've tried to reintroduce any kinds of dairy, whether it be sheep, goat, cow, cheese, kefir, fermented, not, it just doesn't seem to work for her. So for now, she is not having any dairy, and we're perfectly fine with that. I think listening to your body or watching for signs in your children's skin or their diaper, something like that is really important. So for now, she's not having any dairy, and I choose plant-based sources for her to get her calcium. So a couple tips I have on how to get some calcium. First thing in the morning when you're thinking about breakfast, that's a great time to think about calcium. So the first super high calcium breakfast that we have is oatmeal. Oats have quite a bit of calcium in them already, but what I do to increase the amount of calcium in our oatmeal is I add chia seeds, I add some sort of dried fruit, whether it be figs, dates, or raisins, which all are very high in iron. And I also add blackstrap molasses. I have been adding blackstrap molasses to her oatmeal since she was old enough to eat oatmeal, just a little bit here and there. It is kind of an acquired taste, but most kids will seem to tolerate it well because it is quite sweet. So just adding a little bit to the oatmeal increases the amount of calcium. It's also very rich in iron. So oatmeal with some dried fruit and some blackstrap molasses and chia seeds has a really, really great amount of calcium in it. I would say even comparable to what you could do with your standard American diet of cereal and milk. Another great option for breakfast in the morning is using your dark leafy greens and scrambling them into eggs. If your child will not eat eggs on their own, you can blend the greens into their pancake batter, waffles, or French toast. That works really well too. Adding those dark leafy greens like kale and spinach and collard greens and Swiss chard, all of those have a good amount of calcium in them. Another place we like to get calcium is in juices. So I try to make fresh juice or smoothies daily. That doesn't always happen, but if you put dark leafy greens into your juices or smoothies, that's another great way to get a lot of calcium, because as you know, if you take a big bunch of spinach and you blend it up, a lot goes a long way there in terms of vitamins. So that's another great way we like to get our calcium. To that point, I know a lot of people use fortified juices to get some of their calcium. That's not something my family does, but just as an option for parents out there, using fortified foods to get calcium is probably not the best way, probably not the easiest way for your body to absorb that calcium. But if you're absolutely desperate to get your child to get a little bit more calcium, they do have orange juice that is fortified with a little bit of calcium. And then that would be an easier way to get them a little bit extra rather than having them take a pill or chew a tablet. Like I said, we don't do that, but that's another way I know parents get their kids to get a little bit more calcium. Another beverage that we have that has a lot of calcium is almond milk. So almonds have quite a bit of calcium in them. And I've done a video on how to make almond milk from home. And you can even make almond milk using almond butter. And almond butter, as you know, if it's just one ingredient of almonds, it also has a lot of calcium. So we use almond butter on everything. You can even stir it into that oatmeal I was talking about, or serve it with your eggs scrambled with spinach and like a piece of toast with some almond butter on it. That's a great way to add that in. The other thing we do with almond butter is for a snack, I will fill a date with some almond butter, both super high in calcium, and cut that up, and it's absolutely delicious. So almonds, just regular snacking on almonds. A lot of different nuts and seeds have calcium too. Hemp milk, or like hemp seeds and hemp milk, have a lot of calcium, and they also sell, the store-bought kinds also are almost always fortified with calcium too. So if that's something that you're not willing to do at this time to make your own, you can notice that you're probably going to get some calcium through the store-bought kinds of plant-based milks. Of course, I think it's healthier to do it at home, but not everyone has time for that. So another place we get a lot of iron or calcium, you know, I'm saying iron, but it's funny because a lot of the foods that have calcium also have a lot of iron, which is something that you also don't get a lot of when you eat a plant-based diet. So it's kind of a 2-for-1 here. But yeah, beans and lentils, those seem to have quite a bit of iron in them, and so incorporating beans into your diet. The darker your beans, I think, might have a little bit more, but just taking a look at like what kind of beans your family likes, and using the beans in like hummus, and making black bean brownies, and putting them in casseroles and soups, and using them in different ways rather than just having beans all the time as a side dish is a great way to up your calcium intake. The other food that has a lot of calcium is broccoli, and my daughter loves broccoli. I actually find broccoli to be probably the #1 vegetable that I've found most kids to be able to tolerate. And you can do so much with broccoli. Also, you can bake with it, put it into muffins, you can put it into pasta dishes, you can mash it into mashed potatoes. It incorporates really well, and it also tastes delicious just steamed on its own, drizzled with a little bit of oil, or just sea salt, or nothing actually. So those I think are the top ways that my family gets calcium, plant-based calcium anyway. And I have been pleasantly surprised when I have looked up like how much calcium a 2-year-old actually needs per day. I think that, well, without getting too political, I think that maybe the dairy industry causes us to feel like we need to have more and more and more, when in all actuality we don't need quite that much. It is a very important thing to have, but if you can get it from plant-based sources, it is great for your body, and if that works best for you, then that's great. So do your research too. Find out type into Google how old your child is and how much calcium they need throughout the day, and you can see that it's probably an achievable goal. Now, if you are pregnant or breastfeeding, or you have some sort of health issue that requires that you get more calcium, that might be a little bit more challenging. But like I said, those juices and smoothies and things like that, those are great ways to just add in. I mean, you can, everything that I mentioned, well, maybe besides the beans, you can just like put in that into a smoothie and drink it just like that, and it's going to be great. So hopefully that was helpful. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up, and if you have any questions, please leave them in the comments below. Also, if I forgot something that's a plant-based calcium option, please list it in the comments so everyone can learn from each other. Thanks so much. See you in my next video. Bye.